Hello, I'm Regina Mccann, Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have a new friend with me, and Jocelyn, would you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Jocelyn Konrad. I am the former chief pharmacy officer at Rite Aid, a national drug chain. And what I love about my job, or what I did love about my job at the time, is as a pharmacist and a leader, bringing those two things together, which was truly had a purpose behind it. I just love changing the lives of others, both leader from a leadership perspective and then the consumer perspective. So having a hand in all of that was just really got me out of bed every day and kept me excited to continue to do what I did throughout my 30-year career.
Yeah, that's impressive. Very impressive. And pharmacy, I mean, it's not just that you're helping the pharmacy itself, the pharmacists and the techs and stuff like that, but you're also retail. So you're on the front lines, so to speak, with everybody and with everything going on. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, wow. I will tell you the highlight of my career has been the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'll go from a pharmacist perspective, it was very important because pharmacists at times aren't seen as that frontline healthcare provider. We're on every corner, doesn't matter what the banner outside is. And we as retail pharmacists, community pharmacists, actually, we have always known how much we provide to the everyday person in the communities that we served. The pandemic really brought that to life. And it was so exciting for me to be part of that and part of that group that helped us not only get testing. I was, part of the first PCR testing in the United States. We had it right here in Philadelphia. And then the vaccines and how we helped, honestly, save the country. I do think that. I don't think without the network of pharmacists and retailers in the community, we had the infrastructure already available to do some amazing things, for the last 2-3 years. I don't even know how long it's been right now. It's been so long.
Yeah, I know. It feels like a lifetime.
And every one of them, from the front end associates to the technicians to the pharmacists, stepped up and came to work every day to save lives and to be there for their communities, and to be part of that and to help lead that and shape that was just phenomenal.
Yeah. And I will say, from a consumer viewpoint, it was extremely impressive. So, just being able to schedule so easily your vaccinations at the local pharmacies, and that every single pharmacy, the main ones were able to do it so consistently. And the people that were there, it was like, you were so grateful that they were there, and they were so friendly, and they were being overworked because they're trying to do their normal job plus this. And they were also pleasant and sweet, and they knew they were doing something so important and so special.
Without a doubt. I mean, they were truly the heroes of the pandemic, and they did it because of that. They did it. Every one of them did it because there was a purpose, and it drove them to do more, and they were exhausted. I mean, I, thanked and congratulated them and kind of put them on that pedestal because that's where they belonged. It was difficult. It was not easy. And just everything from the availability to the scheduling. It's interesting you talked about the scheduling tool. Most retailers did not have a scheduling tool. So we built that, all of us, in our own little world, from scratch. And it was amazing to even see that collaborative effort within our organization, and I'm sure all of the other organizations, to get that done so quickly, because we knew we needed it in order to really be organized and to really be effective in helping the customers. And we learned from the past. I mean, years ago, I know I used key learnings from flu. I don't know if you remember, back in the 90s, flu shots weren't available in all pharmacies. And we had mass people come to pharmacies to get a flu shot, and it was ridiculous and chaotic. So some of even those past key learnings helped us drive some of the future tools that we built so that we could save the world. I mean, one
Yeah.
shot at a time, but it certainly got us to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing, and you guys should really be applauded for your efforts. It was just impressive. And it's funny you mentioned the technology and the fact that you guys collaborated together and got that done. I mean, throughout the pandemic, not just in your industry, but a lot of industries, my industry included, it forced them to do things that were probably 5-10 years down the road, but it happened now. So we had such technology advances over the past 3 years that have like really skyrocketed us like a decade earlier than we should have been. But it's all great progress that we wouldn't have had the pandemic not happen.
Completely agree. And you've probably seen it. I know I saw it in my career. To get things done in the past, it was like pulling teeth sometimes. I always say, I know I want the easy button, but I really don't think it's this hard.
Right.
And it was just priorities, really what it came down to is everyone had different priorities within an organization. So therefore, what the ROI was or why we needed it always kind of threw up those hurdles as you wanted to move forward at times. And I think the pandemic allowed us as a country to move so fast forward, sometimes too fast for me. I had to learn very quickly how I thought I was transformational, but I realized I was not, or innovative. And it helped me really see the light and open my eyes to things very differently, even as a leader, as a mom, all those things. And as actually a user, like there's things I use now that I probably would have never used had it not been for the pandemic. So it was, I think for all of us, a very interesting place, but I'm always a positive thinker. What comes out of it that's positive? The pandemic was horrible. Never say it was never a positive, but to think about, to your point, how we leapfrogged so quickly into spaces it would have been a decade before we got there. So that's a positive that comes out of it.
Yeah. And you almost have to, you even said it, you almost have to look for the positives because there was a lot of negative, and we're still not completely done, but it's just like, all right, we have a lot of positives, so we can celebrate that.
Absolutely. And we should. But I think the more important part of that, at least I know for me from a pharmacist perspective, but I think it translates into everyone based on what we just said, is not lose sight of that, because that's what scares me the most. You go so fast, so forward, and then the next thing you know, you slow down and you get very lackadaisical again, and you're not continuing to do that. And that's probably the most important lesson that I think we all need to learn is, look what we've done. It was hard and it was challenging, but gosh, we did a lot. And we should learn from that also of how to try to, without burning out. I know we burn out, but how do we continue with that momentum and continue with those, those key learnings so that we use them as we, move into the future.
And
right?
Right. And it's also like, it forced us out of our comfort zone. And then, things start to get better. We start going back into that comfort cozy. So not that we need another pandemic, please, but, something to like remind ourselves, come on, let's push ourselves out of our comfort zone, because look at how much we can accomplish if we step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, I think that's just a key learning. I'll keep using that term, but I think it is. I try to find things and learn everything that I do and have done in my career. And I think that is one. And you have to continue to remind yourself, because it's so easy to just get right back into that comfort zone. And I think it's exciting. I think that's the other part of it. Teams got together and built things and did things they never thought they could. And to be able to lift them up and show them that, like, I had to constantly put mirrors in front of people, like, look at what you're doing. Like, you need to be proud of what you have accomplished and what you continue to accomplish, because that motivated them to continue to do more. And I think even as a leader, it's important to do that anyway. And I think the pandemic more so, I would think, At least I know for me, that was part of my number one, is taking care of my people and the people that worked around me, and making sure I was paying attention to them through it all, because I knew that they
Absolutely.
were, working so diligently and hard and passionately that, I wanted them to stay focused on that and themselves.
Right. And it is important to give them a pat on the back and say, you don't see it because you're in the weeds, but you are helping so many people. You are making people so happy and you're saving them. And congratulations for you and the whole healthcare team, the pharmacists and the techs and everybody in these pharmacies who work so hard, and they couldn't work from home, right?
Exactly.
They had to be
That was
exposed to it every day, all day.
and that was very challenging as well, when you are in a corporate environment, but yet your entire business is on the front lines. It was very important, to stay focused on that, right? To not let that get lost in translation, because our business was dependent on it. And, going out there, seeing them, being part of it was just as important as trying to help support them as well from, externally. And yeah, losing sight of that was very important, because we all went and worked from home, as you just mentioned, but every one of them, the 50,000 associates at Rite Aid in particular, but throughout the country as well, in the 70,000 pharmacies and grocers, they were all there. And, we needed them to continue to live.
Yeah. And now myself included, whine about having to go into the office. And I have friends that are like, yeah, they're making me go in the office 2 or 3 days a week. I'm like, yeah, but look at all these other people who had to be there every day while everybody was scared to death. It's just so funny. You have to put it into perspective.
Yeah, it's important to do that. Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So here's another question for you. You're in a very challenging environment, regardless of the pandemic, you're in a challenging environment. Tell me maybe some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional female.
So my career has been very interesting in that, as a pharmacist, there were many females. I mean, that was actually the majority of, pharmacists graduating. Even when I graduated 30 years ago, it was very heavily dominated by females, or at least even. I mean, I don't have the statistics. So as I started my career, I didn't really feel those challenges because of the profession I was in. And as I started to gain more responsibility and get out of the store, get out of the, working on the bench into leadership roles. At first, it didn't even faze me that there was this issue of, female leadership and challenges and glass ceilings and all of those things. And I kept moving forward because I never really thought about it, honestly. Even when people talked about it, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any problems. And I grew up, my mother was very involved in female leadership. So I'll kind of bookmark that. She led and did things as a female back in the 70s, 80s. She was part of the city of Philadelphia's Women's Commission, Mayor's Women's
wow.
Commission. So I grew up with that, knowing that, you just need to put yourself out there. You need to do what you do, be your authentic self. And that's really what my mantra always has been, if you will. I am who I am. And, those that want me around, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. I want to be places where I can add value. And in the pharmacy business, I always felt that. But I will tell you, as I continue to seek new roles and be afforded new roles, it started to really hit me. And I remember one day that I was in a big corporate meeting and all of the executive team was on the stage. And it was literally 5 white males. And I thought, that was when it hit me. Like, I didn't see it because I was in a big organization. There was, there was diversity there. I saw it every day. So I didn't really think about it until that moment. And I remember my boss at the time was one of those individuals. And I was like, you know what, you guys need to fix that. You need to have some female leaders or diversity in general up on that stage with you. It's
yeah,
not
for sure.
And
for sure.
And I didn't mean it like from me. I just meant I was just doing the aha. I'm
Yeah.
like that. I'll tell you what I think. It has nothing to do with me directly. And I'll never forget, because he said to me, he's like, well, you need to change that. And I thought about it for a moment, like, I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I was suggesting, that it was me that would change it. But in that moment, I think, well, I know, I thought, you know what? If someone's going to do it, why not me?
Yeah.
Like, why shouldn't it be me? And I'm going to do my best to try. And from that moment forward, I did. I raised my hand a little bit more than I did previously. I, asked for different projects a little bit differently. I didn't just wait for them to come to me, which I did previously, but it was fine. I was happy in any career move that I made. So it did change how I looked at things. And, it was that pivotal moment for me. And I think leaning in, we all say that, leaning in, but I think there's something to be said for that, and letting people around you know that you are interested, but also understanding that doesn't mean you get the pass, right? You have to work for it. But it's important to let people know you want it. And that, what, if the opportunity affords itself for you, that you should lean in and take it and try it. And once I started to think about it that way, what do I have to lose? I can go back to be a pharmacist, which I love to do. That was always I could always go back. So I really had nothing to lose.
Right.
And all I would do is learn. And that really is how I, moved forward, in my opinion, anyway, how I got up out of bed every day and said, I'm going to be the best me. I'm going to do the best I can for the organization. And I'm going to let people know as opportunities come about, think about me. And if I'm the right person, please, allow me to try. If not, that's okay. But also, one thing I will say, do not put me in that position because I'm a female.
Right.
The best person for that role, I want to, to have the opportunity. But because that always scared me a little bit during those times as well, early on. So anyway, long story short, I really pushed my way forward, but I was surrounded by so many great mentors and leaders that helped me and helped support me through all those journeys and gave me a shot, even when I may not have been the most experienced, but I was authentic, an authentic leader, willing to learn, willing to do the work, and really to drive change within the organization.
Good for you. That's amazing. I love that. Love it.
Yeah, it was fun. Cool. It was fun. It's interesting to look back to realize all that happened, but because when you're in the moment, you're in the moment and you're just really taking it all in and being in the moment. That's like one other thing that always in my career, early in my career, was those people, and I'm not throwing stones, but feel that I'm going to be this and that's what I'm going to do. And they didn't enjoy the role that they were in.
Right.
It's one thing to have aspirations, again, in my opinion. It's another thing to just be focused so much on that aspiration that you're not really adding value to the position or the role that you're in right now. So I think it's a balance between those two things.
Yeah.
And I always strive to have that balance, right? Because I think it's important. It's an important way to approach things and to learn, push forward, but also be humble and know that, you may think you're the best, but you may not be the best for that moment in time or for that role in the moment. And things will come as long as you stay open to them.
Right. And enjoy the journey.
Perfectly said, enjoy the journey.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way I tried to do it. Enjoy the journey. And it's going to go up and down and sideways sometimes, but enjoy it, because there's always another turn and always another door. And, that's actually exciting for me.
Oh, it is. It is. That's great. Well, speaking of journeys, if you were to get in a time machine and go forward, how do you envision your retirement?
Well, that is, I ask myself that every day, and it's a challenging question. Mainly because I want to continue to learn, and I want to continue to add value, and I want to continue to be part of something bigger than myself. But I also want time for myself and my family, especially knowing how much I've given of myself in my career. So it's how do I balance those two things as I think about retirement? And I've learned through the last decade or so how to save for my retirement. And I'll tell you, that didn't come easy for me either. But it's a balance. I want to continue to work and do, but also have a little bit of flexibility, if you will, to enjoy life and enjoy my family and other things. I know that's probably a generic answer, but
no, it's not. Everyone answers it differently, but it's funny because like our parents' generation, they just retired.
Yes.
They just retired. Now our generation and the people and the people retiring even now, it's not, I just retire. It's, I'm going to retire and I'm going to consult, or I'm going to coach, and I'm going to do this. And, I have a client who I love dearly. He's in his, I don't know, we'll say mid 80s, might be early 80s. Sorry if I get this wrong, the age, but he builds houses for Habitat for Humanity. I mean, like he is just not sitting idly by, retired. He's active. And there's a lot of people who are just like, yeah, I want to retire. And which is a great way to go, because, if you're active, the more active you are, the more healthy you stay. And the more your brain's engaged, that helps, hopefully fend off some of that dementia problems that we have as a society. But, everyone has a different answer to that. But I love asking the question, because I just love to hear what people are thinking about.
No, and I completely agree with you. And that's it. I always want to have purpose. One thing I pride myself on, even as I start to think about my next journey, is something that has purpose. Like I know everyone does, but for me, like what's going to, make me passionate. And similarly, it kind of made my hair stand up when you said that. Like at 80, to build a house for Habitat for Humanity, like how awesome is that?
He's
like
awesome.
Yes, and yes. Like I can see myself doing something like that, and not just sitting on a beach, And I say doing volunteering, coaching, little league, whatever that is.
Whatever it is, right?
Really just, always being open to those things that I couldn't do. I think that's probably it. I didn't have a very good sense of time management, if you will, when I, was very thick in my career. I did my career and my family. Like they were my two things. I really, many times I'd be in interviews, people like, well, what are your hobbies? I'm like, I got no hobbies.
They don't get it. They don't. I'm the same.
Not one more minute. Like it's hard enough to shut down my corporate job and be a mom, let alone hobbies, right? Like, and that was me. I know I could have done it. I'm sure I could have figured it out, but I wasn't passionate about anything else other than those two things in my life. And so I think for my retirement too, now that you're triggering it a little more, is thinking about those things that I probably would have done if I wasn't so invested in my career, and do them now. And I think there's time for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing everything with me. And thank you for all that you have done and your colleagues have done throughout the pandemic. It obviously has made a huge impact and a huge difference on society.
Without a doubt. Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure getting to know you and talking to you.
Great. Well, thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us. Again, I'm Regina Mccann Hess, president of Forge Wealth. My website is forgewealth.com, and you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, and on LinkedIn, Regina Mccann Hess. Go make it a great day.